Good morning. Welcome to Back at It Bosses. Back at It Bosses is about finding our way home through self value, through what is important to our lives, through what is meaningful to our lives. As I always say, this is not a simple journey, but it is a healing and a mercy for our lives, right? And I'm so happy to be here on this platform this morning. Like I always say, I don't have anything scripted, but sometimes when stuff comes to my mind, I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about how important it is to know how we deal with conflict, right? So let's use me for an example. I like to use me for example because a lot of times I'm the one that will step out forward and use myself as an example and become vulnerable and open to the world, right? So this is what we got going on. When I was a young man, how I dealt with conflict. I dealt with conflict through violence. If I get into it with someone, my friends, we fight it out. I learned that from my friends. I didn't learn it from home. I learned from my friends. I learned how to be combative and violent with my friends, young friends. So we get into it with each other, or we have a conflict, we fight it out, right? Fast forward as I got older, I learned to listen to people. I learned to listen to people and just try to figure out what is going on in this person's mind and what I have going on in my mind. This is how I start to deal with conflict. Oftentimes, people want to have things their way. If something is not going their way, they get upset. When they get upset, they call names, name calling, uh, put downs. This is how they've been taught to handle conflict. Sometimes we not direct say this is how you handle conflict. Usually we pick this stuff up from society, TV, and our surround. But this is how people deal with conflict. Or they try to make you feel small. Or they put you down. And usually when you are used to putting someone down to get your way, uh, it becomes a habit. It becomes a tool that you use to have your way. You minimize or you put someone down to make them feel less than themselves so that you can have your way. Sometimes uh, we deal with conflict through silence. I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to ignore you. I'm not going to pay you attention. You do not exist. Right? And another thing that is helpful, not to get off the subject, when you have a spouse or a mate, before y'all actually just get deeply into the relationship, you should pay attention how they deal with conflict. How they deal with conflict with other people. Do they badmouth them? Do they talk too crazy to them? Do they come off insensitive? It's just something to think about. How are we dealing with conflict? Conflict at the workplace. Do we want something to go our way? Do we deal with conflict if things don't go our way? We hurt you. We smash you with words. We shame you. Is this what we do? Do we use politics? Do we go to someone else and talk to someone else to get them to be our yes man or a yes woman to deal with conflict? How are we dealing with conflict? How do we deal with conflicts is very important for our life because what actually happens is it helps us get back to our authentic self. And we might not be dealing with conflicts the way we would like to deal with conflict. We might be dealing with conflicts the way we've been taught. Because there's a voice in your head tells you to deal with conflicts like this, and you don't deal with it like that because you don't want to seem too soft. I'm talking to the men. I'm talking to the women, right? When you actually don't want no trouble with no one, you don't want no smoke, you don't want no conflict. But instead, you might handle the conflict with aggression because this is how you talk. But your authentic self, the self that we trying to get back home to, it might want to handle conflict by listening to the person. I even learned that myself. Sometimes it don't take nothing to just listen to people. You know what I'm saying? Just listen to people. Just compromise. Because this is how we can handle conflict. Sometimes when people are going crazy on you, it helps just to calm down a little bit. You stay calm and listen to them. Not you defending yourself, but listening to them. And it helps. A lot of times, most of the time, if you stay calm, when someone is pushing my way, or the highway, if you could just get them to consider your way, just a little bit, maybe you can crack that old way of thinking, that old way of dealing with conflict, that old way of bulldozing, being calm. But the question today, how do we deal with conflict? I'm all over the place, but I just want to push it out there that conflict is very important. And sometimes the way we deal with conflict, like I see conflict at the workplace, people are not considering that this man right here has a family and has kids that he has to take care of. But the way one would deal with conflict, they would have intentions of getting this man fired or getting this woman fired because they're insensitive to what someone else got going on in their life. All they want to do is have their way. And sometimes their way is undeveloped, childish. You might still be handling conflict like a child. You throwing tantrums. You might be handling conflicts like a baby crying. I mean, seriously, if we just look at ourselves and see how are we handling conflicts? Am I handling conflicts like a boy? Do I listen to my mate? Do I want people to read my mind? How are we handling conflicts? Right? A lot of times we're not talking about what's going on with us. This is how we handle conflicts. I don't have nothing in my mind structured to tell you. I'm just throwing it out there. How we deal with conflict. Even myself, when I first come into a relationship with a person, a human being, I watch and see how they handle conflict. Do I want this person around me? If this person get mad at me, will he or she develop a smear campaign? Smear my name? Do this person know how to talk? So we should pay attention to people, whether it's a spouse, a mate, a friend, a colleague, co-worker, coach, teacher. Pay attention to how people are handling and dealing with conflict. Right? I leave you as I came with peace. It is that feel-good feeling. Love you, people. But give that some thought. Ponder.